A helicopter descended from the sky, its glossy body catching the oblique winter light. As it drew closer to me, a machine hiss overwhelmed that familiar deep faraway chop. Its little wheels perched gingerly on the roof of the São Paulo Sheraton. A pilot wearing wraparound sunglasses and pilot's headphones hopped out, slid open the back door, and set up a 3-step ladder for us to board. He clasped his hands in front of him, waiting for us to get in, a chunky metallic watch on his right hand. It was 4:25 p.m. His punctuality was English, as Brazilians like to say. The helicopter wasn't for me. It was for a top editor visiting from New York, whose time Bloomberg News judged more valuable than the $1,500 an hour it cost to hire a chopper to ferry him around. I was a 29-year-old reporter tagging along to meet a big newsmaker. I climbed aboard with 3 other colleagues, my knees touching theirs in the back seat. Everyone put on a pair of those headphones. As we rose into the air, the helipad retreated, São Paulo shrank. The Pinheiros River dwindled to a dark stripe, tiny cars filling up 6 lanes of freeway on either side. We left behind the Octavio Frias de Oliveira Bridge, a concrete X intersected by yellow cables supporting 2 crescents of road. We passed over office towers of gleaming dark blue glass, luxury condos of imitation granite, new buildings copying many architectural styles at once. I took photos on my BlackBerry, craning to see a city whose chaos seemed from this height to reorder itself in neat rows. The Bloomberg editor also sneaked a shot or 2. Then, almost as soon as it had begun, the trip was over. From the helipad, we tromped downstairs into an office of many beiges, the carpets, the desks, the filing cabinets. We were in the headquarters of a company known as Brazil Foods, BRF for short. It was surprisingly quiet given that BRF was Brazil's biggest producer of packaged foods and the world's biggest exporter of poultry, feeding millions of Russians and Arabs and Chinese. We settled into a conference room to wait for the company's new chairman, Abilio Diniz, one of Brazil's richest men. He owed his $4 billion fortune to his family's supermarket chain, Brazil's largest, another superlative. It was called Pão de Açúcar, sugar loaf, after the iconic mountain in Rio. Abilio Diniz famously worked out several hours a day, running, lifting weights, boxing, and playing squash, even at 76 years old. He ate like a stereotypical Californian, avoiding the Brazilian staples of rice and beans and red meat. I'd seen a picture of him in a tank top doing the pectoral fly, and his face, lined and tanned as a leather shoe, looked photoshopped onto the body of a much younger man. Now here he was, bounding over to shake our hands, wearing khakis and a simple white button-up shirt, no tie. He sat down and the Bloomberg editor jumped straight into the interview. This was a mistake. In Brazil, you can't cut straight to the chase. You need to ease into business, glide through some small talk, something about soccer, the weather, traffic. The other mistake was hitting him with the most obvious and least comfortable question first. How can you possibly be chairman of 2 public companies that do business with each other? Pão de Açúcar bought BRF's TV dinners and yogurts and smoked turkey. In all my time as a journalist, I don't think I've ever seen such a thing, the editor told Abilio. Abilio wasn't just chairman of both companies. He owned stock in them. This had led to a clash between him and his French partner at Pão de Açúcar, Jean-Charles Nauri. Alleging that Abilio's dual roles made for a glaring conflict of interest, Nauri had filed for international arbitration. The dispute permeated the business press. For Abilio, though, it was just his latest messy public battle. In the early 80s, his father had decided to hand out shares in Pão de Açúcar based on his children's performance in the company. Abilio got a 16% stake, while each of his 2 brothers got 8%, and their 3 sisters got just 2% each. Fights ensued, and as the alliances shifted, the siblings spilled their woes to a series of delighted journalists. In 1993, Abilio finally persuaded most of his family to sell their shares to him, cementing his control. Abilio spoke halting English as he explained to us that the legal issues existed exclusively in Nauri's head. There was no conflict of interest because Abilio felt there was none. I follow the rules that I built for myself, he said. He bounced in his chair, looking from one to another of us as though being interrogated. Now and then he squinted at his PR people with a look of pained incomprehension, and they helped him explain what his English couldn't. Pressed on his dual roles, he snapped at last in Portuguese, "Did you come to interview me, or did you come to provoke me?" The conversation kept on like this for 20 minutes until Abilio glanced around and asked, "Okay?" indicating our time was up. This was a man with a hierarchy of attentions. Journalists ranked low, though possibly above his press people. These he addressed without ever quite meeting their eyes, making offhand orders. "I'll take a water. You'll send me that article later," in the way of someone who rarely repeats himself. But there was more to Abilio than conflict. In recent years, he'd become a champion of healthy living. He wrote a best-selling self-help book, translated into English as Smart Choices for a Successful Life, and created a sports research center to advise Brazil's Olympic athletes and himself. Prepping before the chopper ride, I'd explained this to the Bloomberg editor. And so as Abilio began to hover from his seat, the editor's last question was, "What about health?" Abilio settled into place again. His demeanor shifted entirely, his voice growing soft, quiet. His wife was 41, younger than all 4 children from his first marriage. With her, he had a 6-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son. He believed these were signs he'd been blessed, literally, with special vitality, and his duty as a Catholic was to share this gift with the world. "The thing inside Abilio is my faith in God," he said. "Okay?" Then he stood up, thanked us, and hurried off to other battles. The helicopter returned to whisk the Bloomberg editor to the airport, an 11-minute flight that could take 3 hours by car during rush hour. I didn't get to join him this time. Instead, I walked to the nearest bus stop, an island in the middle of 6 lanes of frenzied traffic. There was an aerial walkway, but a half-dozen people stood by the side of the road waiting to leap through a gap in the oncoming cars. They wore jeans, springy old running shoes, and puffy jackets whose color had faded in the strong sun of subtropical winter. In erratic dashes a few at a time, they surged across. Brazil was booming, but people still risked their lives just to get to work and back.